Oh man, it's Summer and Candace with the Connected Life Book Club. This is the final podcast for season 4, studying the book Finding God's Life for My Will by Mike Donehey. I feel like these 6 weeks have kind of flown by. Whereas like in life, these 6 weeks have really stretched out because at the time of recording this, we're still in the midst of stay-at-home measures from COVID-19. And so in many ways, it has gone slow, but this has gone fast. And now this is our final touch on this book. And we hope that you loved it. We do. We're going to share some of our thoughts on the book as a whole. And we'll have a chance to actually hear from Mike Donehey in this episode and some of the things that he has wanted to share with us. But this one looks a little bit different. So let's just jump on in with kind of those good old classics like Candace, for example, the way we always start these final podcasts. What's in your cup? What you drinking today?
Well, oddly enough, in this, I guess, quarantine time, you could say, I have shifted away from coffee. So it's kind of an intentional decision here, but I have an English breakfast tea with some oat milk and a little bit of sugar, and it's delicious. And I haven't shifted away from caffeine totally, but I have kind of cut down a little bit because it's like you can kind of just go home and take naps now. So why not?
Nice.
So Summer, what's in your cup?
Well, I feel like I actually should be shifted completely away from caffeine because of twins and all. But I have been reading and doing research that it is safe for a pregnant woman to have up to 200 milligrams of caffeine. So I have a slightly less than half calf French press black coffee in my Northwestern Media mug. So that is what I'm drinking.
Fancy.
Yep, it's good old stuff. No bitterness, 4-minute timer. Press that bad boy down. No milk, sugar. That's the way to go.
Yum. Nice. All right. It's a solid start to our final podcast here for Finding God's Life for My Will, which by the end of this book, I can finally say the title because it's like so confused. I mean, it's backwards a little bit, but it's perfect because the way that he kind of maps it out is great. So as we are looking, I mean, I'm honestly looking at the table of contents right here, and I'm curious what chapter or chapters, but let's try and narrow it down here. What chapter really stuck out at you the most?
Yeah. Well, I'm already going to break your rules because I don't know that there's one. But I mean, it's like there's certain themes that I feel like he visits on throughout the chapters that just really resonated with me in general. And I tried to go through the table of contents to pick. And I got to tell you, Candace, I've never highlighted a book so much in my life. And the chapter titles weren't helping me because it's been long enough. So I had to go back through all my highlights and I felt like I was just rereading the book. And so I was just like, re-blessed by so much. So the chapters where he's talking about how his dreams died and changed and all of that, I think that really spoke to me. There's been a lot of seasons in my life where I really had it all mapped out and designed and it was clean and it was neat and I knew where it was going and it changed. And so finding that freedom to hold on to those dreams and expectations with a loose fist has been, at least a decade-long journey for me. But hearing him speak about that the way he did, it kind of re-solidified, re-energized that journey. And I've always seen the greatest blessings when that's happened. And so I loved that. That was right at the beginning. Okay. The Drink My Cup chapter remains the one that has blown my mind the most. That's the one where he talked about giving wine to his disciples being a marriage proposal and really what that picture looked like of betrothal in, the ancient Near East and how that colors so much of the New Testament that we just missed. And then I would say the embracing the cracks. Since getting into radio, that has really been kind of my mission and my ministry to just be, to be honest and let people know that they are loved where they're at. They're not alone in their struggles. And that I want to make sure the outcasts know that, I am also a misfit toy and just understanding, that the beauty in that. So I loved that chapter. It's just, all of it I think really spoke to, we are called to live out what God has made us want to do, the passions he's given us for his glory. And as long as we're chasing after him, there is freedom in that. And I don't know. I just thought it was beautiful. There's a lot that kind of stretched my mind and helped refine my thinking and putting words to ideas that I may have had. And a lot that was challenging. What about you? What really stuck out to you?
So, like you, it's kind of less of a favorite chapter and more like rank the chapters.
Yeah.
Based on what sticks out in your mind. I felt like the capitalistic Christianity chapter was really eye-opening. There was one quote especially that says, "I didn't realize then that accepting God's grace means he doesn't owe me anything anymore. If all I got from worshiping God was more of him, then that was enough." And I actually don't remember if this is the chapter where he talks about, wasting our time on people, basically, wasting our time in ministry. But that chapter absolutely spoke to me because it was like, we don't have to, it's kind of the Mary and Martha situation to a certain extent of like, we don't have to be hustling so hard all the time. More often than not, God calls us to just be, and just be with him, just be with other people, just be that presence in that relationship, which I think was so huge. Let's see. The other chapter was I stopped asking God to use me.
Yes.
Oh, that was huge because, it's like, I know this, but to have that reminder that God 100% does not need me, and that everything that, I'm called to do in ministry, everything that I choose to do in bringing people closer to him is all kind of just icing on the cake. Right here it says, we stop living for God and experience the sweetness of living because of God. Just glorifying him and loving him and letting that just seep out of us, and seep into the lives of others to bring him close. It takes a lot of the pressure and anxiety off of evangelism, because there definitely are times where I think God draws us to stand up and step in and go outside of our comfort zone to help bring somebody closer to him. But the fact that I don't have to invent those moments, I don't have to, I don't know, that I can just honor and please God with my life and live because of him and live my life fully. And that those moments are up to him to bring those and I just obey. And, that exchange, I think, was just really a profound moment, I think, as I was reading through this.
For sure. I think that chapter for me was really good because it reminded me, like, when we feel like we're being so holy, right? When we're praying, oh God, use me, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do, I'm just going to follow you, whatever. But then I feel like we rank ourselves next to other believers, next to other people, whether it's in our vocational ministry or whether it's just people in our church or other moms. And we rank ourselves based on how we perceive that God is using us versus how God is using them. And if we feel he's doing greater things through them, well, I just need to pray harder. He's not using me enough. And it becomes this competition where we gauge our own level of spirituality and our own level of grace and freedom and victory and all of that. And it becomes something so twisted and polluted. It's what should have been like this beautiful, holy ask of like, God, I'm your vessel, fill me, use me however you will, is becoming like a competition. And so just backing up and being like, he doesn't need me. But I'm here if he wants to use me, and I'm going to glorify other people. Like, I'm going to celebrate with the quote unquote competition. Like, he was talking about how Mandisa at all the concerts, like she's the one front and center singing their songs. She's the one wearing the other band's t-shirts. It's like, I want to be like that more. So yeah, that was definitely inspiring. I think it's the second to the last, or maybe it's the last chapter. I still don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I'm not supposed to. That just tied everything together so well. And it's like he even said at one point, come on, Mike, don't be such a buzzkill. Don't end the book that way, which I just wrote LOL next to it because come on. Yeah. But it's like, it really doesn't feel like, well, there's no way to really know. It feels like there is a concrete, like, the best is always yet to come. In every question, every heartache, the best is yet to come. In every triumph, every tragedy,
The best is yet to come, so let's release our stranglehold on our lives and our wills and all the ways we've dreamed of seeing our lives going. The stranglehold word just was, I circled it multiple times because it's just, I think that he gives us practical steps. Surrender into God's love, surrender into his peace and rest. And, just by following his example, we're able to have a greater impact. And it feels so obvious. And I feel like all the best lessons are that way, right? They feel like, duh, why haven't I known this from the beginning? But the thing is, we do know this from the beginning, but slowly, piece by piece, we kind of shape it into what we think or different expectations that have been put on us throughout our lives that just aren't of God. And so I just think the ending was, it was spot on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was really, really strong. And I felt like reading the book, I was surprised, if I'm going to be honest. I didn't really know what to expect. My only experiences with Mike have been as a performer. And he's like this really funny, theatrical showman. And
super goofy.
Yeah. And so it's like, I understood like, oh yeah, people want Mike Donaghy to write a book. But I was so surprised by his depth, I think. And this sounds really terrible. And maybe we should never let him listen to this, but like I was kind of surprised by just how freaking smart he is. There was so much of it that just like bent my brain, and you can just tell this is a brilliant man. Like he is very well studied and well read, and I really appreciated it. And so I was really disappointed when I wasn't able to be a part of the conversation with him, but
I'm sorry.
No, not your fault. So to fill everyone in, with these final podcasts, one thing we love to do is we love to take some of your questions, take some of our own, and if we can, get the author on the phone and ask them directly, like just straight from the horse's mouth, some of these responses. Because of social distancing, I've been home, and so Candace took this on herself, which I'm very grateful for, and sent me the recording. So we're going to listen to it now all together, and then I will be able to share my thoughts on it after the fact. Sound good?
Sounds good. Hey, Mike, thanks for calling.
Thanks for having me call.
Yeah, we're really excited. So normally this is part of our book club podcast, and normally there's two of us. So,
okay.
Ooh, excuse me. I actually ran from the front desk to here.
Well done.
My cardio is not as good as it was before quarantine.
Whose is? Although I will say my brother is running like 10 miles a day.
Oh,
and he makes
show
me
off.
Feel guilty about my life.
Right?
He doesn't have any kids. So what else we got to do?
Well, thanks so much for joining. So we read through your book, Finding God's Life for My Will, which was incredible. And normally Summer would be here. She is my partner in the book club, but Summer is currently pregnant with twins, and so being extra cautious during this pandemic time, and so she is at home.
Twins. God bless her.
God bless her indeed. Yeah.
I have delivered 4 children from my wife only, and I just can't imagine having 2 of those in there.
Yeah, she is going from 2 to 4, so she's kind of skipping a step in the whole child rearing.
No joke.
Oh, that's great. So typically, this is the 4th season of our book club, and typically when we interview an author, we like to start with just a couple fun things. The first one is what's in your cup, because this is a book club after all. So today, I am drinking an English breakfast tea with a little milk and sugar. What about you? What's in your cup?
Wow. Oh, George Howell is a coffee roaster out of Boston, Massachusetts. And I was lucky enough to buy some limited roast Mamuto Kenyan beans. Mamuto is the farm. Kenyan is the bean. It's one of the best coffees I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
It's black because that's the way you drink it.
That is intricate. Is it fair to say that you're a coffee snob?
You didn't know what you're getting into.
Really didn't.
And I am a coffee snob, but I'm not snobby. I'm only snobby toward myself and what I drink. and I have no judgment on anyone because I started drinking coffee by drinking peppermint mocha frappuccinos. So I like to
Ooh.
meet people where they're at. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. That's fantastic. Oh, that's great. So the next little game that I had was a quarantine would you rather, a little this or that. So so far, and I'm sure things are starting to open up a little bit, but so far in your time home with your family, are you more into Netflix or books?
Oh, books.
Oh, is there one that's stuck
Absolutely.
out over the last couple months?
What did I just finish reading? Oh, I just read this weird. Well, it's not weird. It's like a fantasy sort of Lord of the Rings kind of a novel called Name of the Wind.
Mm.
And that was kind of fun. I'm a big novel reader. I don't actually read a ton of nonfiction, even though I wrote a nonfiction book, which
A
is
little
ironic.
ironic, yeah.
But if you read my book, you'll notice how many stories are sandwiched in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I feel like I've had the most life change from hearing stories more than people just giving me advice.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, we experience that a lot just in the radio field, too. We kind of stake our careers on it a little bit.
That's it, man.
So another this or that. Snack all day or 3 square meals?
Oh, snack all day long. How about, can I do meals all day long? Is that an option?
That is an option.
That is a quarantine option for sure.
I've been experiencing that myself. Let's see
My
here.
kids, sorry, I'm filling in the gaps here, but my
Perfect.
kids, we have to, like, you guys can eat something at 8, and then you have to wait till 10, and then you can eat at noon, and then you have to wait till 3, because otherwise they're just like, we're hungry all day long. Great.
You gotta have a little egg timer on the fridge or something for every couple hours.
Yes.
So let's see. Have you opened a TikTok account or are you kind of social distancing from social media?
Here's the deal with TikTok. I just think I missed my shot at that. I think it would be really cool if my dad had one. You know, he's 70, and I think it's like, but like getting in the middle age, I just don't think I'm supposed to be on there. I think I missed my shot with that one.
I understand that. I have not started one myself, even though I do watch the funny ones every once in a while when they post them on Facebook.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get the platform. I just don't think I have to. Can't be everywhere all the time.
So true. So how has this whole pandemic been for your family? Is it kind of a clarifying experience or more exhausting? How are you feeling?
Oh man, what a question. It has been. There's things about it that have been incredibly unifying and peaceful, and there's things about it where I thought I was going to lose my mind. I would say just in the last week, my wife and I finally bit the bullet and said, the only way we're going to survive this with 4 children in the house is I'll take the kids from 7 to 10 in the morning, and then I have office hours starting at 10 a.m. And then we have lunch break, and then I have a couple more office hours, and then that's it. Because before we set that up, we were both just drowning in children, and like homeschooling and all this, we just didn't know how to do it.
Oh, my word. And what are the ages of your girls again?
The ages are 10, 9, 7. You're testing me now. No, 10, 9, 6, and 2.5.
Oh, boy. Definitely full of energy.
Yo, the screaming. Like, there's such a weird fine line with little girls between laughing and terror screaming,
Mm-hmm.
And like, so you rush into the room, you're like, what are you screaming about? And they're like, nothing, we're playing a game,
This is fun screaming.
It's like having 4 raptors in the house.
Oh, my
Pretty
word.
exciting.
Oh, well, Godspeed with you during that time. I'm glad you found something that works, though. So we're
getting into a rhythm.
That's good. So we have a private Facebook group for our book club. So we kind of reached out to some of the ladies that are reading along with us and asked them if they had any questions for you. So Tammy's question,
Wonderful.
which I thought was pretty funny, was she said, how did you actually find out that the naked Marine had pepper sprayed himself?
Oh, what a question. What a lead-off question. That was, he just told us. So he's sitting there dripping wet. And I mean, we just sat there and waited until the episode was over. And he said, you boys get out of here now. And then before we darted off into the woods, I leaned in. I go, what just happened to you? And he didn't tell us. He just pulled the crushed pepper spray bottle out of his pants and showed it to us.
Oh, my word. That is too fun. I think we all cried laughing at that story.
It's a true story. I wish that it wasn't, but it is.
Well, Dawn took it to a little bit more serious note. So she said, on the path of life that God has chosen for your will, what is the gift that God has given you that you feel has enabled you to glorify him the most?
Oh, what a question. I'm not even going to begin to assume what has given God the most glory from this life of mine. But I can tell you that being in quarantine, I've been renewed of just how much I love words and how much I love the way we can shape them in a song or in a book or in a blog or in a post. And suddenly we can just arrange these words in a way that actually breaks shame off of people. And I just can't think of anything better than that.
That's pretty fascinating because it actually kind of leads into my next question, which is how was the book writing experience and process different from the songwriting experience? And would you write another book after having gone through this?
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, I'm working on a book idea at the moment. I've likened, if you're a songwriter, writing a book is kind of like writing a rap album.
Okay.
Kind of the same thing. You just have a lot more words to work with.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it was easier because, with songs, you have to just, you don't understand. When you're writing a song, a lot of the time you go through 100 different lyric ideas before you land on the perfect arrangement of words because and or the or just could totally create a different meaning, So to be able to kind of explain yourself and not have to fine-tune, edit every single word was actually kind of a relief for me. I found it almost easier in some respects to write a book than a song.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, that's kind of interesting, too, because as you are doing the whole book writing process, I'm sure there was some editing that went into that. So were there any stories or ideas or lessons that you wanted to share that didn't make it into the book?
Oh, there's a ton. I mean, that's why there's another book hopefully coming.
That makes sense. That's great. So were all of these ideas formed before you started writing, or did you do some internal processing as you were kind of getting into each chapter?
Oh, well, of course it wasn't all fleshed out. I mean, writing the book, I feel the same way. Okay, let me back up. When I was in college, it was the first time I got really into journaling. I had journaled a little bit in high school, but in college it became therapy for me. I mean, that's what therapy is, right? It's like you talk, and then as you talk, you work through things. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, journaling, writing a book, writing a song, and you can probably hear it in my songs, and you definitely probably hear it in the book. You can kind of feel the fact that I'm working this thing out as I'm talking. And so in some ways, I just kind of grapple and wrestle with what I'm wrestling with. And as I write, some things become clear. And then I go, this is worth sharing with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably honestly why I think your lessons, so to say, or the points that you're trying to get across had such a practical impact as you're reading it. I mean, we hear from all sorts of people that say, wow, this is the most practical book that we've read that helps us understand bigger ideas about God.
That's awesome. Well, for me, I don't really care to sound really smart. There's a lot of people who are good at that, and that's not my strong suit. When I try to explain what I've learned about spirituality or God, I try to put it in language that my 6-year-old can understand. Because C.S. Lewis said something to the effect of, he said, if you can't explain yourself to a 6-year-old, you probably don't quite understand what you're talking about anyway.
That's fantastic. I'm going to actually probably take that one on air. That seems like it would make sense for radio too.
There you go. Look it up. I'm not sure that's the exact quote. It's something like that.
Perfect. So I genuinely got really excited that Wisconsin made a couple appearances in your book. And since we're calling from Madison, Wisconsin, I'm curious if you have a favorite thing about Wisconsin. And cheese curds is a common answer, which we all love cheese curds for sure. But is there anything other than that that has stuck in your memory about Wisconsin?
Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings here, but I'm just not a big cheese curd fan. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I know. You can edit this part out because I understand I'm probably divorcing myself from a lot of people by saying that. Man, Wisconsin. What can I say about Wisconsin? You know, some of my favorite shows we've ever played have been in Wisconsin. The people there are just really friendly. So I think my number one is probably the people. We have this one friend that we met a long time ago, and every time we play anywhere near his house in Wisconsin, he brings a big Danish Kringle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know
These
Kringles
big
for
pastries.
sure.
I don't know if they're founded in Wisconsin or if there's just a heavy population of Danish people in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
But,
I think it might have German roots, and that's a big
there
thing
you
here
go.
in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Kringle.
I love it. I love it. That is fantastic. A lot of Kringle lovers here, for sure. So I guess the next couple questions that I have, feel free to not answer or just say, this isn't something you're ready to talk about. We can edit out anything.
It's very rare that's the case.
Okay. Well, obviously, 10th Avenue North made a huge announcement that you guys will be parting ways as a band. So is there anything that you want to share about that? Maybe how you're feeling, what's next, what that processing has been like?
Absolutely. First of all, for anyone who's just hoping to dish up some juicy gossip, I have some bad news for you. That our ending the band has been extremely amicable. There's been no fight. There was no blow up. And a lot of people would go, well, then why on earth would you ever stop doing it? Because in their minds, they think our job is super easy and it's just like people are applauding you all day. And there is that. I mean, it's pretty great. When you show up for a concert, you get applauded just for showing up to work, right? But we've just done it a long time. And financially, it is not the easiest thing to have a band because there's just so many people that you have to provide for. And we had some guys who just said, I'm kind of done doing this. I'm done traveling, done making music. Our bass player, right before our spring tour, said, hey, guys, I want to go do real estate. And he's really awesome at it, and he loves it. I said, go for it, dude. And also, my wife and I just kept scaling back shows to the point where my guitarist and I go, I think it's actually going to make more sense for me and for you to just end it because he's been producing music and songwriting for people, doing TV and film writing, and he kind of wants to be totally off the road. And so for me, it kind of allows me to restart making music kind of maybe in a totally different sort of musical genre, at least. Lyrically, it'll probably be pretty similar just because I've always written all the lyrics to our songs. But it gives me a chance to sort of go, hey guys, this is the kind of music I love. Because as a band, I always love our music, but everyone else in the band has to love it too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I get an opportunity to sort of hit restart, and I'll probably be releasing music as Mike Donaghy.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. During quarantine, I've written about 25 songs so far. So
a couple albums.
It doesn't matter. I'm writing a lot. What matters is if any of those are any good. Remains to be seen. But so we're all kind of just going separate ways, and everyone's kind of doing new things. And I think everyone's really excited about it. It's definitely sad. I mean, I started 10th Avenue North 20 years ago, if you can believe that. and just ready to kind of see what else there is to do in the world.
Yeah, well, it's really good to hear that things are amicable and everybody's kind of chasing after their new passions. I have actually noticed, I mean, with your last release as 10th Avenue North, No Shame, it does have a different sound to it than a lot of your other songs.
Yeah, and that was just because other members had left, and so then it was me and Ruben and Jeff were kind of the decision makers for the music of that record. Nice. Which before it was me, Jeff, Ruben, Brendan, and Jason. So Brendan and Jason left. Jason left to work for Compassion full time, our drummer, and then Brendan left to start a farm with his wife, actually.
That's awesome.
And have a kid, and they're pregnant. They're about to have a kid any day, so they're living their dream. And but now even the No Shame record, for me, I enjoy pop music, but it actually isn't like my favorite music to listen to. So the songs I've been writing have been more of a Beatles meets Beach Boys meets Americana kind of a thing.
Oh, that's fun.
So, yeah, it'll be a little rootsier and, I don't know, a lot more vocal layering and such. So we'll see. See what happens.
Cool. Very cool. Well, jumping back to the book, as you know, you've been kind of doing lots of interviews about the book. You've been, sharing that for, is it the last year now?
Yeah, it came out in August, the book.
Oh, okay. So just over 6 months or so. So what is your favorite chapter? What was your favorite thing to write that you really hope has the most impact or was the most fun?
Yeah, well, those are kind of two different questions, right? Like the
Sure.
really fun stuff was sort of writing about my childhood and, of course, like the Naked Marine kind of thing. And anytime it's a fun, ridiculous story, that was a lot of fun. And those are stories I've been telling people for years. And I went, I'm writing a book that's kind of a bit of a memoir. I might as well put these stories in it, you know? And, but for me, I think at least the chapter that seems to be drumming up the most conversation for me was the chapter I wrote about leadership. Just being a kid who grew up in church and then worked at a mega church and now has played at churches of all sizes all across the country for 2 decades. It was just really fun to sort of push back and challenge sort of the status quo on the language we use when we speak of people in the church and their job titles and their responsibilities. And it was fun kind of doing a little pushback to go, maybe we are focused on the wrong thing, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, that definitely drummed up the most conversation in our book club here because it kind of flipped everything on its head and we're going, wait, no, servant leader, that's a thing, right? Right? But I just love the perspective of we don't need the leader portion of that title.
It's really about words, what words originally meant and then what words have come to mean. And I make that little point in the chapter how, like, if I say, hey, I'm gay, you don't think that I mean I'm happy.
Right.
Because that word has come to mean something different. And in the same way, I would say in the church, when you say leader, It's not the Greek shepherd word. It's got all this other stuff attached to it now. And so when a word starts to convey something that it's not meant to, then it's better off finding a new word. There's so many words, right? I mean, as a book lover, you know that. There's so many more exact words we could use.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last question I have for you, and this will be the last question so that it's an easy edit if you don't want to talk about it. But
Great.
in the book, you had mentioned, I'm picking up on that, which is great. So in the book, you mentioned John Steingard from Hawk Nelson, and you mentioned him being on tour and different things. And just this morning, via Instagram, he announced that he does not believe in God anymore. So how has that been affecting you as a friend, as someone in the Christian music industry? All sorts of questions surrounding that.
I love that you asked. First of all, John texted me yesterday before he posted that. Second of all, when I hang up with you, I'm calling John. We have a phone call scheduled.
Oh, that's awesome.
And second of all, I'll probably be starting a podcast soon. I don't know what the name of it's going to be, and this is what my next book is going to be about. But it's going to be something sort of like the things we've been afraid to say. And in it and with it and the conversations I want to have is John is the perfect person for me to talk to on the podcast because I want to have conversations with people that for Christians are the hardest ones to have. And I want to teach people that most of the time, someone like John doesn't need me to make an argument about God. He obviously has read a lot of arguments to get to where he is. And I want to also add, I get it. And I think if any of us pause long enough to actually be honest with ourselves, I think all of us, we get real freaked out when someone like John says, I don't believe in God anymore, because we know there's parts in us that don't believe in God. You're like, what are you talking about? Yes, I believe in God. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you always act like you trust him? Do you always act like you're loved? Do you always act like he's going to provide? Well, what's that? And I think it's really important for us to realize that the point of the Old Testament, certainly, and I just read a book about this that maybe I can recommend. It's called The Sin of Certainty by Peter Enns, who's a college professor. And he kind of makes this argument that the point of Scripture isn't so that you believe all the correct things about God. That should be evident because the Pharisees believed all the correct things about God, and Jesus called them full of dead man's bones. It's like, okay, so believing all the correct things about God doesn't change you. And his point is, the point is to take these promises that were given and ingest them in a way that you actually start to trust God with your life. And here's the thing I know, because this happened last year. A pastor named Marty Sampson, who's a Hillsong worship leader, and Joshua Harris, who wrote I Kiss Dating Goodbye, both announced that they weren't sure what they believed about God anymore the same week. And everyone freaked out. In fact, Wisconsin's own John Cooper wrote a pretty adamant, angry blog about, like, Christians aren't hardcore enough, and this is why this happens. And I wrote a blog that simply said, guys, Jesus had lots to say about things like this. And I think the most striking example is when he talks about a farmer who's got a field, right? This is right after the parable. I'm giving you way more of an answer than you're probably hoping for.
No, I'm loving every moment.
This is right after the parable, right, where Jesus says, hey, there's this farmer, he's got some seeds, and he's just throwing them everywhere. Just some are landing in the thorns, some are landing on dry soil, some are getting eaten by the birds. It's kind of like this farmer didn't know how to plant seeds. He's just throwing seeds all over the place. It says, and some of it falls on good soil and actually, like, lasts. You're like, see? Yeah. And so we read that parable and we're like, yeah, who's good soil? Ugh, John from Hawk Nelson? Obviously not good soil. Look at him. Right? But then he follows it up with another parable. And you know what the next parable is? The very next thing he talks about is, hey, there's another farmer who's got a field of wheat. And this enemy plants weeds in the wheat, and these weeds start to grow in the wheat. So the farmers workers, they look out the field and they go, oh, look, farmer, it's our job. This is our job to pull out all the weeds. Let us go pull out all the weeds. And what does Jesus say? He says, the farmer says to the workers, no, leave them in. What? Yeah, leave them in. Well, no, but then people are going to think we're part of the weeds because we're letting the weeds live in the wheat. We need to go pull them all out. He goes, no, that's not your job. Like, that'll happen at the end. Me and the holy angels, we'll separate the weeds and the wheat. Your job, now I'm adding to the story. I feel like he's saying your job is to treat everyone like they're wheat. Even if you think they're a weed, treat them like they're wheat. And maybe they'll actually start to believe it for themselves.
Wow.
Because I don't think anyone has been argued into the kingdom of God, but I think a lot of people have been loved into the kingdom of God.
Absolutely. Oh, my word, yeah.
Yes, right? My job with John isn't, and I wrote a whole blog about this when the Supreme Court said we're going to legalize homosexual marriage. I wrote a blog called To Hear or Be Heard. And my point was, all these people are like freaking out, raising Cain. We got to change this. We got to change this policy because we're all arguing over what spiritual matters the government should legislate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, Democrats would say, my personal life should not be legislated, but my money should be legislated. And a Republican would say, no, what I do with my money, none of the government's concerned. That should not be legislated. But what people do with their bodies and their spirituality, the government should legislate. So we're just kind of arguing over what should be legislated and what shouldn't by the government, right? But my point was, hey, guys, I don't think, at least the homosexual friends that I have in my life, none of them need me to remind them what the church thinks about it. But a lot of them wanted to be heard by me and hear their story.
Yeah.
And in the same way, I think maybe probably I'm not going to try to change John's mind when I talk to him, but I want to hear him. Because maybe my job isn't to change your position. Maybe my job is to change my posture. Did you get that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so last thing I'm going to say is a beautiful verse. Oh, it's so beautiful. In Isaiah, it's talking about Jesus. And it says, a bruised reed. I'm choking up here thinking about it. A bruised reed he will not break. A flickering flame he will not quench. And I think there's a reason Jesus says, you know how much faith you need to be in this? You need like a mustard seed. And so we're dealing with a God who's he's tender with the broken reeds, with the flickering flames, with the people full of mountain-sized doubt. And he says, even if you have a flicker of a mustard seed of faith, that's enough for me to work. And so maybe my job is to be patient with those who doubt, to be loving toward those who doubt, because maybe they just need to take the long way around.
Amen. I think now more than ever, that's the message of hope, right? Is that even in those doubts and in those small moments, God is still there. And that is just huge. Thank you for sharing that.
Dude, and here's the deal, man. I said to John, I said, hey, man, I just want you to know, I still want to be, you don't have to believe in God for me to want to be your friend. And I think that is something that the church could really, really learn, really, really benefit from learning.
Yeah. Amen. I'm feeling moved. Thank you for that, Mike.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. And a lot of people very much enjoyed reading this book and digging into it, and the ideas that you brought up. I mean, I think it's changing a lot of people's posture and kind of just opening a door to just a different way of looking at people around us and at God's word.
Well, thanks.
Well, I hope you have a great chat with John, and thank you so much again for talking to us.
Dude, fantastic. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right.
So, Summer, what did you think of that chat? Honestly, I'll just share off the bat. If you've done any of our Connected Life Book Club seasons before, any of the other 3, you realize that the author interviews usually like 15, maybe 20 minutes. I think, we had one where it was like 11 minutes, like, because it's like, oh, this was nice. Thanks. Okay, bye. But Mike just had so much to say, which is fantastic. But yeah, it was a little bit longer than most of our other or author interviews. So, Summer, what are your thoughts? What's the Summer response since you weren't able to be there?
Okay, honestly, I was so disappointed because I want to be this guy's friend. Like, there's so much that he was saying. But I'm like, bro, like, I'm also kind of a coffee snob. And bro, I also usually can't stand nonfiction, which has been an interesting thing, hosting a mostly nonfiction book club. But yeah, no, there was just a lot that I think he'd be really fun to sit down and jive with. But I really appreciated the depth of his answers. I will say, like, there was a lot of them. And I think that everyone can appreciate what he said in regards to the book. But the one thing that really just rocked me, and I could have kept listening and not stopped, was his response to Hawk Nelson, his response to John. And I thought that was so beautiful.
Just a heads up about that. So John, the lead singer of Hawk Nelson, recently said that he doesn't believe in God. And he shared that via an Instagram post. You can actually go find that if you search for John Steingard. But it was 9 slides on this Instagram post of a really in-depth, I don't know, I guess a really in-depth look at his life as growing up in a Christian world. He's a pastor's kid. His wife is a pastor's kid. He had really deep conversations with his father-in-law about faith and, just with other different people in the industry about faith, and just kind of came to a point where he felt the need to share that he does not believe God exists. So that was that response, which, oh my word, totally blew me away.
Yes. Yeah. I felt like it really, honestly, was such an interesting, it was the timing of it for our sake. Like, obviously he wrote this book a long time before this happened, but having just come through like the Embracing the Cracks chapter, and how scary, honestly, it must have been for John to share what he shared, because like we talked about in that chapter, we're so afraid of what people's response is going to be to our truth. And so, and I understand that. And being someone who's walked that road, like I grew up in the church when I was younger, I did that, and I walked away, and I didn't believe there was a God for many years. And then I found my way back. So I'm going to keep praying for John, because I know the relationship I have now is so different from then. And I'm not going to, hate on the guy or I don't have a relationship with him, but if I did, I love Mike's response to loving him in the midst of this. And I think that even though John's statement was not a topic in the book, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think it just really spoke to so much in the book, and just, it was really timely. So honestly, like that part of the conversation, I don't know, it just really blessed me. So that was probably my favorite part of the interview. It had nothing to do with the book.
Well, but it did a little bit, because John made an appearance throughout the book, and so he was definitely a part of a lot of Mike Donaghy's life in a lot of different ways, and the touring life. And it seems like even a very deep friendship outside of actually working together. So I think, this is probably as close to getting it straight from the horse's mouth as you can get when it comes to actually hearing kind of what's going on in John's heart. So yeah, I felt like that was really good. And honestly, Mike seems like the kind of person, I really didn't even, there were some questions I had written down that I didn't even have to ask, because he was answering them as he's going. Yeah, he just already went there, which was just so cool. He seems like the kind of person you kind of just put a quarter in and sit back. Like, He'll just go. He'll
I
just
love
keep
it.
talking.
He's my people. Yeah. Does not have the gift of brevity. And you know what? I think there's a lot of value to that for someone in his field and doing what he does. And
Yeah.
I think it just really helped us see that he really is genuine. He is who he says he is. And it brought home a lot of what he said in the book. And I don't know, I appreciated it. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, of course. I'm very much looking forward to his next book. I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that he kind of like, you could tell every single like question I asked that I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if you want to answer. And he's like,
Bring it
seriously, I will talk about anything. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Me too.
Yeah.
Let's go. So I'm really excited. He's going to be writing another book.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciated that so much. So, okay. So now we kind of come down to this point in the podcast where it's push come to shove. Honest opinions. We never have to show this to Mike ever. What did you think of the honest opinion? Like it, love it, whatever, hate it. What did you think of the book?
I loved it. I mean, of even all the books I've read in the last like 6 months or so, this is one that I will probably be recommending to the most people. And I've kind of been talking to some people in our book club in the Facebook group about this, because that's been the thing that so many people are saying, like, I need to tell people to read this. I need to, share some of these quotes. I mean, people are saying I ran out of highlighter ink just because there's so many great moments. And I totally agree. Not only was it funny, entertaining, I mean, just sharing some of his like growing up stories and like his personal life, and then so seamlessly transitioning into how that affected his relationship with God. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like, oh, okay, here's the Jesus lesson in that little, story. But the fact that he was able to give practical ways for people of faith to just expand their thinking, expand their view of God by 1 level, 10 levels, whatever you're able to absorb in a really tangible way was hands down my favorite, And I think you just get that from a lot of that like cross section of ministry. He's done the deal where he has to stand up on stage and give the perfect line in 5 minutes. He has to give the perfect story in 3 minutes. So he's worked on, okay, let's edit this to the best possible message. But then he's also taken that and expanded because of his reading and, his thoughts it just seems very well organized so that you're right along with every single step that he's taking till you also arrive at the same conclusion that he's, getting to in a lot of these chapters, which, yeah, the practicality of it was hands down amazing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I guess you could say I liked it. What did you think, Summer?
It was the worst. No, anyway. No, I loved it too, like so much. And like you were saying, what I really appreciated is how he took you on that journey and how he would start some chapters knowing this isn't going to be popular, knowing that the title of this chapter is provocative, talking about like leadership and that whole angle that he took on that, or I stopped asking God to use me and all of these things. You're like, wait a minute, what? And how he didn't just, okay, here's what I mean, but like really took you through it until by the end. Like for the leadership one, it literally took until the end, or like something about the perpetual yes. Like that chapter, it took until like the last paragraph for it all to click and me to agree with him in that. And
right,
so like he wasn't afraid of that. And so I really appreciated just his candor and his honesty, his vulnerability, some of the stuff that he shared. I feel like would have been so hard to share. Just how his own sin struggles with pride and comparison and all of that. Like that's never an easy place to go, especially as such a public figure in a Christian setting, to just how honest he was.
Absolutely.
But like I agree with everyone. I don't think I've ever highlighted a book so much. And I already have a couple people on the waiting list for as soon as I'm done with it, I'm passing it on. I think that in the course of our 4 seasons so far, and this is maybe a bigger question, because each book has been, I would say, pretty different. This is probably closest to Love Lives Here as far as like so many personal stories. But I would say that The Gift of Wonder stretched my brain and making it think about things it's never thought of before. But this book really stretched my brain in taking these concepts that make sense, that I knew, that kind of, but really solidifying them and grounding them and helping me understand and grow, like specifically grow in these areas. And so I would say it's my favorite book that we've studied. Like if I can throw it that far out there, I think so. And I loved it. And I think that he gave us permission to disagree with him in some areas. If there were areas where like, well, I'm not sure I'm 100% on that boat, I feel like he'd be like, cool, sweet, awesome. You know, it wasn't like some weird pressure to agree with him.
Well, and I think that comes from his humility. You know, I mean, there is this humility that I think we miss in the church a lot because we feel like we have to have the right answer. You know, we feel like it's persecution if we are, being questioned, or if we are questioning our faith, that it's some sort of hurdle that we have to get over, instead of just like accepting it and sitting with it and really digging deep of like, is it me? Is it God? Is it Satan? Like, what's going on in my heart? Is it the world trying to tell me one thing? You know, we don't give ourselves enough permission to just sit with things. And Mike seems like the most humble, chill dude that's like, just sit with it. Just pray about, let God work through you, you know, because it's not like every single trial that's handed to us is like black or white, figure it out, black or white, what's your guess, blah, 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 you know, trying to get to the right answer all the time. The right answer is more about the journey, which is the whole point of the book.
No, I really appreciated all of that. Like, he's someone that I feel like you could sit down and talk to and disagree with and walk away disagreeing, and like he'll still be your best friend. And I don't know. I just love people like that, and I really appreciated this book. And so I'm really excited, like you said, to read his next one. And I'm super excited to hear his next album or whatever he comes up with. That sounds super fun. So thank you, Candace, for doing the interview without me. And
I wish you could have been there. I wish you could have been there. But honestly, though, if you were, it probably would have been an hour and a half long
no
conversation.
Doubt, because Mike Donaghy and I were soul buddies. Like, we're supposed to be friends because we're the same exact way.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for season 4 of the Connected Life Book Club. It has been really awesome just to dive into this book, and we appreciate all the interaction on the Facebook group as well. So if you haven't yet signed up for that, if you've maybe just been listening to the podcasts, you can sign up to be a part of that Facebook group when you sign up at the Connected Life Book Club. Is it the Connected or Connected Life?
I think we're trendy and abbreviated. I think we're just connectedlifebookclub.com.
Love it. Connectedlifebookclub.com. Sign up, subscribe to the podcast to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. And we will let you know when the next season comes around.